Hi, everyone. We are back. And what we wanted to talk about today was something we've been noticing about the parallels between our psychological well-being, being home, being at ease, feeling comfortable in our skin, and our physical well-being, feeling health, clarity, vitality, balance, and ease in our bodies. And what we've been seeing is how when our mind is settled, when we put the snow globe down, we've talked about how if we get anxious, we feel like there's a lot of problems in our lives. It's kind of like shaking up a snow globe. So you can't really see clearly what's at the essence, what's there at the core of that snow globe. And when we get into a state of fight or flight, when we're really anxious, scared about losing our job, or there's not enough money in the bank, it's like shaking up the snow globe, and we don't have access to that quiet, calm base of intelligence within us. So we've seen how there's a parallel between finding our innate well-being, that state of that settled snow globe psychologically, and finding a state of balanced well-being physically in our bodies. How when we eat a certain way, our bodies seem to come back into a state of balance. The snow globe inside physically gets settled down. And so we just wanted to share with you some more about how it is that we see we're all born with this innate well-being at the very core. But what keeps us from accessing that and feeling at home is just a busy mind. When things come up in our lives, they can appear to be almost an imminent danger. So we've got to deal with it, There's an urgency and an element of, if I don't, then something really bad is going to happen. It's like a bus is about to hit me. If, like I said earlier, if I lost my job, or if there's a negative balance, suddenly I see a negative balance in the bank account. When in fact, in that moment, I'm still okay. But my mind is acting as though the bus is it's just 2 feet away. I'm about to get done. And how it isn't an actual fact. It's so interesting. We were talking earlier about where do our problems go when we stop thinking about them?
Yeah.
And so it's like we can be all anxious and then a friend invites us over to watch a movie, and we'll watch the movie, and the whole time we're all watching the movie, the snow globe is settled and we feel fine. But then the movie ends and I start thinking about it again, and I shake that snow globe up, and then I just don't know what to do, and I'm all anxious. And that's so often the time that we find ourselves reaching for food to try and settle the snow globe.
Yeah, but in terms of coming home around food, 2 of our clients shared with us how they were going for the old, which they knew wasn't good because of the snow globe being shaken. And they stopped and checked in with their body's wisdom to see what was ideal to eat in that moment. And they both made really healthy choices because they let the snow globe for a moment settle and made their food choices from there rather than from a busy mind, which has often, what would you say, pushing us to food that isn't great, that's just old comfort, food that we have used to try to settle this. And all we have to do is check in, get quiet, and we make new choices that are coming home to more of who we really are in our inner wisdom.
Yeah, and that's the value of the eating with presence exercise. It's kind of like going to the movie and letting your mind settle. If we're finding ourselves wanting to reach for something that we know isn't really going to be the best support for us physically, but we're reaching for it because in the past, when we had that food, we got that little dopamine hit that we've been talking about, and we feel more settled. But it isn't a real settling in terms of resolving the issue. The issue is that we're okay and we have the answer within us to deal with it. Food isn't the answer. It's like we shared one client who was having a computer problem, and she grabbed a brownie, took a bite of it, and looked at the brownie and said, "Now, this is supposed to fix my computer?" It's so cute. Yeah. So there is this innate well-being within us, and when we allow ourselves to settle, that's what's available, and then we have that greatest inner intelligence available to deal with whatever's coming up in our life. So this psychological well-being is always available. We just let our mind settle. And we've been seeing the parallel to organic, whole food, plant-based diet, in that I look back at and try to imagine what were our ancestors eating when this body evolved, because our bodies adapted to what foods were around in order to survive. And what's interesting, there's a lot of debate about what was eaten, but one aspect that nobody argues with is that it was organic and it was in the whole food form. The food was always consumed from the packaging nature packaged it in. There was no processing. And it was interesting when I started whole food plant-based when I met Connie, and I had all that inflammation in my body, all that pain, and how quickly that started to go away. And in a way, I can see how it's like when I went to organic, whole food plant-based, when I started eating food packaged the way nature packaged it, without any processing, without any added oil, salt, sugar, that kind of stuff, the snow globe started to settle down. The inflammation started to settle down. The pain went away. The blood sugar imbalance that I was experiencing as hypoglycemia all resolved itself.
True.
So interesting how that organic, whole food, plant-based diet seems to be equivalent to letting the mind settle down. It lets the body settle down. So
well, it lets the body function the way it's designed to function. So it has to come to balance in a place of settledness.
Right. So anyway, we've been exploring that and finding that quite a fascinating parallel to how we have innate well-being psychologically, emotionally, mentally within us all the time. It's just that we need to let the mind settle down to experience it. And we have this innate physical well-being within us all the time available as well. It's encoded in the DNA. But we need to give it the environment that allows it to settle and function the way it's designed to function. So it's like we're never very far from home. We can always come back home to that settled place because it's our true nature.
Now the recipe, we're going to do kimchi again today because we really want to support the microbiome to be strong and healthy, so we have great immunity and overall good health. So check that out below. It's easy to make, or you can buy it at your health food store, but make sure you buy the one that's in the fridge, in the cool section of the store, not on the shelf, because that won't have any real value for the microbiome.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.